All right, that's it. No more practices. No more press conferences. Summer vacation is here. I don't care if your kids are in school. I don't care what you're doing or where. The next 5 weeks are free to me, to you, to Patriots players, to Mike Giardi of Boston Sports Journal. They are also the most pressure-packed 5 weeks of the entire offseason, apparently, according to Mike Vrabel, which I want to get to in a minute. But welcome again to another episode of the Pats Interference Podcast, brought to you by the lovely, handsome, ever-informative, nugget-filled, laughter-speckled CLNS Media Network. Mike, do you feel like it's summer? Because I'm not there yet, mainly because you and I are sitting here talking, doing a podcast, and I have another one Friday. But I'm getting there.
Yeah, not yet. Not yet. This week has been pretty chock full. It will continue to be pretty chock full. I feel like I'm already behind on my notebook, which I like to get a little bit of a kickstart on. Haven't got there yet. Got another piece coming out today. So yeah, I'll get there. Maybe this weekend I'll finally just sort of take a deep breath. But at this point, we still got some work to do.
We do. So I kid a little bit in the intro because today was supposed to be a work day, but the Patriots canceled this, what would have been the third and final minicamp practice earlier in the week, saying we're good with everything that's been done. And let's be clear, this is something Belichick did. This is something a lot of teams do. It's a bit of a reward for players if enough of them show up at OTAs. The Patriots felt comfortable enough with that. If you want to sling arrows at them later for this because they felt like they needed more practice, go ahead. In the meantime, am going to look ahead and have a little bit more work here today too. So because I've not done a minicamp episode today, we are going to do a little bit of what I've done to the last 3 episodes, which is just recap, notes, nitty gritty, breakdown, blah, 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 blah. Most of today, though, will be about zooming out and the whole offseason and really what we learned. Because as I say often, the truth is in the trends, and it's hard to gather trends over 5 practices out of about 15 to 18 that the Patriots actually ran when we're only invited to those 5, but we're going to try. And then we have maybe one topic related to the media at the end. So when you think about minicamp, this is my favorite test, the supermarket test. You run into someone who you will give 2 to 3 minutes of your time. They see you, flag you down in the aisle before you can get to what are you most likely getting? I'm seeing like a Greek yogurt, no fat look on your face.
That's actually fair. That's generally what I rip through is the Greek yogurt. I like the combo of the no fat, and then there's I forget what it's called, but it's got like 12 grams of protein. Combine those two, it's a nice breakfast.
There you go. Okay, so you're reaching for your, I don't want to give free Chobani. You know what? Go, good for you, Chobani. Free Greek yogurt. Someone stops you, Mike. Oh my God, how was minicamp? Your immediate, honest assessment in 1 or 2 minutes is what?
Solid, albeit if you read the clippings, a little overblown. How about that?
Okay.
Quick, short,
skipping to the end here.
No, I think we from what we've been able to ascertain from watching the way they're running things, it is a night and day difference from last year. And that really shouldn't surprise anybody because last year it was thrown together and there was an incredibly inexperienced head coach and they were behind the 8 ball from jump. The general manager had to help the head coach plan his day. There's a lot of stuff. This group, headed by Mike Vrabel, knows what they're doing, knows what they want to do out of these practices because they've done them before. And I think that's plainly evident. There's not wasted time. They're constantly moving. And I think it was productive. So, again, far cry from what it was last year.
Yes. And I think this is a coaching staff, too, which is not to shower them right with praise. Again, there are no pads on. We haven't seen football. We need to see how the young players develop. But you get a better sense of whatever the potential is of this team, they're going to get close, if not there entirely, which is what you want from a coaching staff, right? To bring out that potential to develop players, to be organized and efficient. We saw that. As far as the play on the field, Monday's a good day for Drake Maye. Tuesday, less so of a great day for Drake Maye. You got some offsides. You've got some false starts. You've got just general spring slop, which I think, again, within context is okay. It's not great, but those are the mistakes to me that will ultimately tell whether or not the coaching staff, as I just described, is going to get this team as far as it can go down whatever road it will travel. The other takeaway had nothing to do with the 11-on-11 periods, which we're going to break down here in a second, and everything we saw, the targets and the blah, 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 with Stefon Diggs, who finally spoke on the last day of spring, and he had spoken, soon after he signed. But today, obviously, or yesterday, excuse me, was about the boat video. He deflected all of those questions. That is his prerogative. He said he doesn't like to talk about his personal life with people he doesn't know personally. It's a good line. That's something I would advise if my name was Stacey James instead of Andrew Callahan. There was an element, though, that felt like, I don't want to say too rosy for a guy who definitely had a talking with a head coach who seemed a little annoyed, by the way, in his own press conference when Diggs came up. You said sometimes things are overblown. Is that description of Diggs' press conference overblown, and what did I miss?
So to me, that was a great line about, I keep my personal stuff personal, and you could all be great people, but I don't know you. Okay, Steph, then don't let a video which you look directly in the camera get out for the whole world to consume. Because the moment you did that, you lost the right to your, my personal life is my personal life. You're putting your personal life out there. And he's putting his personal life out there in many ways, as he's doing basically a documentary, a self-produced documentary, a crew that he's hired to show his rehab from the ACL. So like, you can't. He's trying to have it both ways, and I'm sorry, I'm not giving them to him both ways. I can't. I didn't care one iota about any questions that had to do with his influence on the young receivers, or how he feels about the offense, or how he feels about, I cared a little bit about how he feels about Mike Vrabel, but like, to me, it's our first time talking to you. I want to know, as Tom Curran said, what's in the bag. I want to know if he didn't even want to answer if he felt like he made a mistake or if he learned anything from it. And to me, you could have dabbled in that without revealing too much. So I'm not someone accused me of being a Puritan. I'm not naive. I'm not a Puritan. I don't know that I necessarily expected him to go into great detail. I just think his tact was a little bit tone deaf and showed to me very little accountability publicly. And you can say, well, I don't care as long as he's accountable to his coach and his teammates. Well, I would tell you then, how come he hasn't been here for a good portion of the OTAs as well? So like, that's part of being accountable to your teammates even before the whole boat trip went down. So again, he'll be judged on catches, behavior going forward. But I think, as you mentioned, Vrabel's irritation signals to me that it's not forgotten, and that he is under a bit of a microscope. And as much as they need the player, he doesn't have enough cachet with them as a group to just be like, turn a blind eye. I don't think that's what it is.
And for the folks who are annoyed that we were talking about Stefon Diggs in the boat video, more than a week and almost a half since it happened. Again, this is the first time he's spoken since then. And I would say to you, if it matters to Mike Vrabel and the Patriots organization, which it absolutely does, as did his response yesterday, maybe it should matter to the fans. If not, that's fine. There are plenty of people who are upset that even tweeting his answers to these questions, which consisted maybe the first 2.5 minutes of an over 10-minute long press conference, which mostly consisted about football. I totally understand it. But this matters to the head coach. This matters to the team. What happens next, as we all know, and this goes for guys who are healthy or rehabbing or, trying to break out or do whatever. What happens next is most important. It's June, okay? But when you're including the recap of what happened at minicamp, that was part of it. As far as the football answers for Stefon Diggs, he is still planning to be 100%. Still sees himself as a number one wide receiver. Does see that there are overlaps with the system that he ran in Buffalo under Brian Daboll and what he's doing now with Josh McDaniels. And I'm pretty positive you didn't do this. The question asked about his relationship with Mike Vrabel, which was my way of kind of sneaking back into the, how are things with your head coach after this conversation that everyone shared happened and probably wasn't very positive. He went on and on and on about how much he loves him, run through a brick wall, and all those different things. That was about it. And so you can go watch or read the stories or not read them at all. That's fine. But I'm eager to see him because, as I said, I think he might be available right at the start of camp. And part of that will be tied to the contract and the money, and then give him a little bit of leverage over what happens next. But ultimately, everyone wants to see him on the field. Stefon Diggs wants to be on the field. I want him on the field. And that might be sooner than we expect, which is good news.
Yeah, no disagreement there. I still think there's a little bit of a limp there, and I don't think that that's a big deal because we're 7 months removed from surgery. But I noticed it particularly on Monday, where the cutting, some of the short stuff he was doing looks like Stefon Diggs. It was the turning upfield where I felt like there was a little something there, a little hitch. Again, I don't think it's that big a deal. I'm just I know some people said they haven't seen it at all. I would suggest that I don't think you're watching that closely, because I see it. And we'll see. We'll see if we see that again the next time he's on the field, whatever it is, 6 weeks from now.
Well, and for the folks who don't know, because I think, again, especially those who seem annoyed by your comments or analysis of Diggs, nobody knows him better on the Patriots beat or around the team right now than you, because you covered him for the NFL Network when he was in Buffalo. And that went for years, along with the people that you talk to and know for the Bills. So this is not me being nice to the guest. Okay. That's not my job. It happens the least when you're on this podcast, but it's going to happen now because you do know better. And so I want people to understand that like, I can talk about how he looks to me, which I was really impressed. And maybe I did miss that limp. I've not noticed it. I've not said it at all. I trust your eyes in this area and your ears more than my own, and people should, especially if you're way on the outside looking in.
I think it's no. Can I quickly just we'll wrap this up. Just so, and it's funny. I'm responding to one comment on the Boston Sports Journal comment page where someone's like, you feel like you have some sort of vendetta against him. It's really funny because I think he is he could be one of the most charming individuals I've ever been around. I've said this. I've written this prior to what happened with the boat. The best on-field interview I ever did in my 5 years at the NFL Network was 6 days after Damar Hamlin basically died on the football field, and they had to play a game against the Patriots. And Steph never does those things on the field, and he agreed to do it. And it was 2.5 minutes of like cathartic, like we kind of at the end of it, it was like we kind of hugged each other. Like it was just one of those like moments where they clearly went through it, and I was living it, coming in there and having to talk to them and sort of see their emotions as they had to try to get ready for a football game. So like, I don't think he's some horrible dude by any stretch of the imagination. I just think that Stefon wants it both ways, and my job is not to give it to him both ways. My job is to this is what's happening, and this is what I'm going to ask, and this is how I'm going to. Your answers are going to color what I write. So that's it. We can move on.
Yeah. All right, the receivers in this place to wrap up general impressions of minicamp. Chaisson Boutte, DeMario Douglas, Kendrick Bourne. There's a clear drop-off then to Kyle Williams and Efton Chism, who we've heard increasingly little about over the last 3 practices because he's just not catching the ball as much and not seeing it as much. Cole Strange is now heavy odds-on favorite. I don't know what they would be at your favorite sports book, which would have to be very bored to post summer odds of Cole Strange winning the left guard job for the Patriots. But with Wes Schweitzer retiring, salute to him and the 3 months he was here in New England, he took virtually all of the reps. Micah went to increase his participation, and that's about it. Are you ready to talk some Drake Maye?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. Monday, 14 of 18 overall and 11 on 11. These are live. These are competitive. They're also divided into full field drills, which are harder to defend, and then those in the red zone, which, as you know, if you've been listening or following or reading, and you'll hear certainly in about 5-6 weeks, are much harder for quarterbacks.
Yeah.
The other 2 periods, still good in there, not as good. He was 6 of 8 just inside the red zone, 3 touchdowns on Monday of those 8 passes. Tuesday, not as good. Overall, full field and in the red zone, where they're starting about the 10-yard line, 9 of 14 with an interception. Inside the red zone on Tuesday, he went from 6 of 8 down to 3 of 6 with only 1 touchdown in those 6 red zone passes. So both days start fast. You and I were talking on the sideline yesterday because they were in the practice bubble. I'm curious if Josh's script, which in practice this is not the same intention as a game where you're trying to move downfield, you're trying to gain yards, you're trying to score points. This is try to see how effective your quarterback is at running these schemes. Do we need to keep it or throw it out? Felt like they're building him in a rhythm because he opens with a short throw to Chaisson Boutte on a stop route, a bootleg toss to TreVeyon Henderson, check down to Henderson, and then finally a dig to DeMario Douglas. This was yesterday, Tuesday, against tight coverage from Carlton Davis. So small, easy throws, build up some confidence. I don't know if that's there, but whether you want to go granular or big picture, what did you see from Drake over the last 2 days?
Yeah, we were talking about that. Is he one of those guys? Because there are certain quarterbacks that they need that sort of scripted in there for them.
Yes.
And it's not just this time of year. It's when the game's action. They want to get into hey, let me get a couple layups early. My feet underneath me, breathe a little bit deeper, get all that, whatever, the nerves out of my system. And then I can go play ball the way I want to play ball, which is we know Drake wants to be aggressive and push the ball down the field. And I wonder if Josh, having looked back at what went down last year with Alex Van Pelt's offense and Drake and the time that he saw him, thinks that maybe he needs that, where I don't think necessarily that's how they operated at times last year. So I'm curious when it starts to get real serious here, if that's something that continues with Josh and how he plans for Drake. In general, I don't know. I'd say, like, if I had to give him a grade for the times that we saw him, B minus. Like, I think it was pretty, again, I think some of this stuff has been overstated. It's good. I think as he went along, I think you saw him playing a little bit faster. Again, you mentioned Tuesday was a bit of a down day compared to Monday, but like, I think he's making decisions quicker, which is what you want to see in the offense. When we first saw him, was like, ooh, he's definitely thinking about, like, what am I supposed to do here? How's, like, what does Josh want out of this? And then I think as time went on, he played more confidently. The ball got out of his hands quicker. And that's what you want. To me, that's a sign that he's starting to get comfortable with what Josh is coaching him and what the system that they're running.
So here's part of that comfort going on through the play-by-play of his day Tuesday. Starts 4 for 4 with the sack, the one downfield throw, which is I've been paying more attention to. To me, that's about reads and comfort rather than just fattening up your completion percentage, which is not what Drake's trying to do, but happens a lot when you throw more checkdowns and you throw more screens. He goes in the next period, a low throw for Booty, just missed it. Hunter Henry on a corner route to the left sideline against Jabrill Peppers. Henry makes a nice one-handed catch. He scrambled. He reminded Stevenson of the flat where Robert Spillane would have sent him into a different dimension. And then he got picked off deep. And this was looking for Kyle Williams, this is the type of mistake that I think, like a lot of mistakes in camp, where they're encouraged, take a shot, see what the rookies have. And this was the case. The problem was Christian Gonzalez was there every step of the way, and even further ahead of Kyle Williams when he makes his one-handed pick that happened right in front of us. And you can watch this on the Patriots social media channels today, which they posted this morning. A one-handed grab, corralled him at the line, was a step ahead of him, and then 2 steps ahead when he makes a pick. I'm not so worried about that. The thing for me was more inside the red zone, and this is how Maye went, and I'll toss it to you. Scramble immediately after they had to re-huddle because of a procedural error. An out route completion to Kendrick Bourne against Gonzalez, but it was short of the goal line. DeMario Douglas slant, touchdown, good. Ramondre Stevenson drop, little far out ahead of him, tight coverage from Christian Ellis. And then you had a bad throw for Henry amid some shoddy protection, plus another Bourne completion, near pick after Keon White jumped offside. Quarterback run, and then overshot Henry on a seam throw with Peppers in tight coverage. And that's one of those, again, where we talk about incompletions and mistakes. I couldn't tell you. I'd have to ask him. We didn't talk to Drake yesterday. Was that last throw overthrown to Henry over the back of the end zone one of those, if you miss in the back, throw it too high because no one's going to get it, whereas in the front of the end zone, you want to throw it too low? Or did he just chuck it? He seemed frustrated, which to me would say I'm not giving the benefit of the doubt of him, but this is all we have to work with. So of all that, again, what stood out?
Well, what stood out to me, and it's more about who he was throwing to, is, this is crazy to say, this is where you miss Mac Hollins, who, of course, has not participated. He's been there. Good on him for being there for the entirety of the offseason program, but is still not cleared to play from whatever he's coming back from. They're missing that big body target. I mean, they have Hunter, obviously. That's going to be a focal point for the defense in that area, but it's trying to throw a contested ball to Kyle Williams in the corner. Like, there's just not enough size and beef for someone to not necessarily be open, but be open. And I think in theory, that's what Mac Hollins is supposed to be. And again, it's on the lower end. We're not talking DK Metcalf here, but it's that sort of body type where,
if only.
Yeah, right.
If only. All my fake trades down the drain. Yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, they tried. He just didn't want any part of them. So that to me was just sort of stand out, where it's just like some of the same problems you've had at wide receiver for the last number of years, you currently still have.
Yes, I would say this too. DeMario Douglas was the best receiver on the field. Any debate there?
No, I thought in particular the last couple of sessions that we saw, his energy, he's getting open. And I do wonder about him, like big picture, in terms of that slot position in particular, and even if they're going to move him around some, that slot position in particular requires good feel. And I don't know that he has that. And I don't think that's something that can be coached. In fact, I'm quite certain that the offensive coordinator doesn't believe that can be coached. You either have it or you don't. So I wonder about his overall fit. But I thought the last couple of days in particular, like, great juice, great energy. I think Vrabel, I don't know how Vrabel feels about him as a player because I don't think we know that fully yet. But I think Vrabel loves the dude and loves the energy that the dude brings, and you can see that. It's like if there's something that I think that's who he is, anyways. But like if Kendrick Bourne has made an influence on anybody, Kendrick Bourne's like positivity is definitely something that Pop has embraced, or even taken his positivity to the next level, if you will.
Yeah, he's a jitterbug with a smile on, like just
Yeah.
always somewhere to go, bounce around. I like Pop a lot personally and as a player, and I think the field thing is probably true. Josh would obviously know better than I would. The only way to close the gap a little bit is just an incredible amount of repetitions. You know what I mean? Like I think part of the feel for the ultimate player who had that was Julian Edelman. Part of that is a quarterback background, but people forget like he flashed at the end of his rookie season in
Yep.
2009. Didn't really hear a whole lot of him in 2010 and 11 and 12. And yes, I know he's playing behind the Welkers and the Brandon Lloyds and everybody else that they had there. But the point is, him to the breakout season in 13, where the Patriots like, oh, yeah, we're fine. Here he is. Pop Douglas doesn't have that time, but he does have the advantage of getting open versus man coverage. He scored 2 touchdowns in the red zone yesterday. He had another one on Monday. And so while Antonio Gibson was the leading, I don't want to say pass catcher, but he got the most targets yesterday. He had 4 in all the team drills. Papa's right there behind him. And that consistency from Monday to Tuesday, and honestly from most of OTAs through minicamp, I think Vrabel does like him as a player, even if we are still picking through the leftovers that remains the Patriots receivers room until Stefon Diggs gets here. Is there anything about Booty? Is there anything about Booty or Bourne or Kyle Williams before I run down the rest of my notes here on offense that we should hit on? Because I know I'm lower than consensus on Kayshon Boutte, which I don't even think the consensus opinion is that high. But the fact that he continues to get top reps, is that safe in the media rules, which I may have shredded on air Monday on BST, announcing that Kyle Williams caught a pass from Josh Dobbs? Anything else that deserves mention here about any of those guys?
So to me, none of those 3 guys stood out. I think Kyle had, maybe he was the second or third practice, I'm trying to think back, where he had a couple plays where I was like, okay, that's the first time I've been watching, but that's the first time like, oh, you commanded my attention there. He had the long touchdown on Monday,
Great play Monday.
which Mike Vrabel was asked about. And again, the little quibble I have with some of my brethren, our brethren, Del Pettis was literally right there. And what they tell the defensive backs this time of year in particular is, do not, under any circumstances, play through the ball. Don't do it. Don't play through the man, basically. Sorry, not play through the ball. Don't play through the man. He would have played through the man, and he would have taken Kyle Williams, because I think Del Pettis is one tough son of a gun, and he would have taken Kyle Williams, and he would have knocked him about 10 yards this way. So whether he would have caught it after that contact, I don't know, held on to it, etc. Also, I believe Mike Vrabel said on that play, there may have been a sack prior to. Like, we put it out there. I'm sorry, I'm jumping this topic real quick. We put it out there like it's like definitive, or some people, I didn't put it out there, put it out there like, oh my God. And dude, can you put it in context, please? Del Pettis is right there. Could have killed him. Okay. Throw might not have even been made because there was a defender bearing down on Drake Maye. That's all. Like, what it does is it heightens the expectation. Oh, well, Kyle Williams was awesome. And he's been fine. He's been fine, guys. But, like, don't go penciling his name in for a Pro Bowl in year 1. We haven't seen that yet.
Well, I'm doing it for all pro, so I don't really care about the popularity contest. It is a Pro Bowl, Mike Giardi. He's getting a higher honor, just as Christian Gonzalez almost did, even though we pretend that all pro second team is a thing. And it's not really a thing because it's just honorable mention, but there's only one team. So we call the honorable mention second team. Moving on, I think that's fair. We will talk about more of this at the end. Kyle Williams, I will say, did have that big catch, split 2 safeties. The speed is evident. He made the catch. The difference Tuesday, again, you talk about rookie inconsistencies. Standard spring slop, as I wrote yesterday, is that idea of playing through the ball. He lost one in the corner of the end zone that he initially had with Marcus Jones in coverage. And as they're tumbling out of bounds, after Kyle Williams got 2 feet in, Marcus Jones rips the ball away from him and it springs loose. Every time you hear Mike Vrabel talk about receivers, you hear him use the phrase contested catches. Those matter to him in a big way. And it was even to the point, to your point, about I think it was Mike Reese asked, like, hey, is Marcus Jones going to catch flack for that? That he like bothered to do his job in this non-padded practice.
Yeah.
He did not. But the day before, when Josh Minkins, this undrafted rookie safety, wanted to play through, I think it was G. Scott, another undrafted rookie, and shoved him, as you alluded to, in the red zone to force another incompletion, played through the man. Mike Vrabel had words with Josh Minkins. So evidence to support what you're talking about. Kyle Williams is fine, but you're right. None of them stood out in a way. It just, for now, the rankings, no Stefon Diggs. It goes, all of them are quote unquote starting. Chaisson Boutte, DeMario Douglas, Kendrick Bourne, and that's it. All right, I'm going to go down running backs, tight ends, offensive line. You tell me what was most interesting. This is just from Tuesday. If you want all the minicamp notes Monday, I chose not to. They're 48 hours old, but they're up in the Boston Herald. You can find the tweets. Those usually do a pretty good job of capturing what I'm going to write. Anyway, running backs, Antonio Gibson, 4 catches. Nice punctuation to what has been a quiet spring for him. I still think he's the third running back here, but his decisiveness and the experience is there clearly because there's no messing around when he catches a swing pass and has to cut up the sideline against the corner blitz because there's space and he needs to take it as long as he can. TreVeyon Henderson caught 2 of Maye's first 3 throws. I already mentioned them. One was a throw into the flat off a bootleg. Talking about the little spice, a little bit different from the Josh McDaniels offense, and then had a check down. His best play, in my opinion, though, was in blitz pickup. Halted a corner blitz late in practice. Like to see that. Reminder Stevenson. Butterfingered one pass that he saw late in the red zone. Not a good throw, but quiet day for him. Not quiet as Lane Larison, though, who had 0 catches, the undrafted rookie who is just still deep in the hearts of certain fans, which, look, love who you ever want. Skipping the receivers. Oh, nice day for John Giles, by the way, who seems to show out on the rare days whenever the media is allowed into the practice bubble, as we were for rookie minicamp. And he was among the few non-rookies participating. But his touchdown, as you noted to me, sent Mike Vrabel flying down to congratulate him because Mike Vrabel likes him some John Giles. 6'3", guy who's on the practice squad, signed late last October. Not going to make the team as far as I can see, but file it away. Tight ends. Here's the depth chart. Hunter Henry, Austin Hooper, huge gap. I'm going to be nice. Giant question marks. Jack Westover, another holdover from last season, like John Giles, who's signed to the practice squad midseason, is playing ahead of Jaheim Bell. Mm-hmm. He's playing ahead of all the undrafted rookies, including G. Scott, who I mentioned had a tough day Monday, had 2 catches, including a touchdown on Tuesday. I have no idea if the number 3 tight end for this team is even on the roster right now. That's basically all I have to say here. Hooper remains limited. Here's the offensive line.
All I would add to this.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. All I would add to this is that I put for today's piece in Boston Sports Journal, I wrote the tight end depth chart looks like Henry, Hooper, Prey.
Prey's good.
I have no idea where that's going to be. You're probably right. It's probably going to have to be somebody who's not yet on the roster. Maybe someone gets cut in August on cut down day and they claim a guy there. But Jaheim Bell, wow, he's way down, way low on the food chain.
I'm gonna say half his targets, at least that we've seen in team drills, have been batted away.
Yeah,
not great for a small move tight end. You know what I miss is the Algie Crumpler, Dwayne Allen, number 3 tight end. I'm really just here to block, but as the number 3 tight end, that's all you really need. Like Hunter Henry and Austin Hooper, good 2-way tight ends, fine, solid. Don't you kidding? I want the guy who's going to kind of like kick your ass and be like the jumbo extra offensive tackle.
Give me Michael Williams. Remember good old Michael Williams? Converted tackle into tight end, like just a monstrous human being. Yeah, I'm fine with that.
Someone go wake up Algie Crumpler. Okay. Offensive line. Here is my personal opinion, not reported, but if I had to guess week 1, this is how the Patriots are going left to right. On the offensive line, Will Campbell, Cole Strange, Garrett Bradbury, Mike Onwenu, Morgan Moses. No giant surprises, but the only guy competing with Cole Strange in practice to date had been Wes Schweitzer. Again, he retired. Cole Strange, I still think, has to prove himself, but when you look at the depth behind him, it gets shallow really quickly. And one of those guys, Sidy Sow, was playing right guard with the unit in front of Drake Maye because Mike Onwenu has been really limited and means basically doing everything but the live contact drills. So Sidy Sow, Lade Robinson continues to be among the third teamers. You've got Caden Wallace, lifelong offensive tackle playing a little bit of left guard. Tyrese Robinson, who you don't know, is most famous for starting stretches of the second OTA practice open to the media, and that's about it, all due respect. And then you're getting into Jack Conley from Boston College, who's been in the mix here and there, but that's it. So Bradbury did not see much competition from Jared Wilson, who remains limited for unknown reasons. But to me, the fact that he's got a helmet, he's got pads, not worried about Jared Wilson.
Yeah.
And honestly, didn't expect much from him this year. So all in all, that's what it is. There's a lot of pressure in the 11-on-11 periods where I only had 3 definitive sacks. That is the grayest of all the training camp stats that we keep. But I'm not here to say that in addition to telling you who got the sack, whose fault it was, without the benefit of review, which we will not have at any practice ever, so long as I'm covering the Patriots.
There was one moment, was it yesterday? Yesterday or 2 days ago? Yeah, it was yesterday, where they, the left side picked up a stunt. And if you followed this football team last year in particular, that was a major, major problem. And so I did again, they could have picked up a bunch during the course of the time in there, but I noticed it and I just made a note hey, isn't that nice? Good communication. You got this guy. I got this guy. The communication looks a little bit better. Again, we'll see about the overall talent level and whether some of these guys can hold up. But I did like that and did note that it was not a free runner at Drake Maye, which we saw far too often last year.
Progress counts.
Yes.
Anything that was interesting to you of all those notes from yesterday?
No, I think we went over pretty good. I mean, I think we're focusing on Drake and the receivers because this is a passing camp. I think we kind of handled that.
Yeah, Efton Chism, by the way, no catches. That was it. He's gotten a lot of buzz, but that's just how it went. 3 straight quiet practice, going back to the one we saw Monday, I don't know what it was, June 2nd, 3rd, maybe. And that's fine. He's an undrafted rookie. Just perspective on him is what I would.
Yeah, he ended up, Monday. It was sort of a note. I sent a text out to a couple guys that weren't there who had been, wondering about what's the hype. And I was like, well, he's currently on the secondary field with number 17 at quarterback. And that hadn't been, but Kendrick came back and it just moved him down a peg. And he did come over and yesterday he did get some reps with Dobbs and May, but it wasn't the same as it was in the beginning of camp for sure.
Yes. Oh, the last one I'll have is this. We talk about Pop Douglas, and the feel is still important on the outside, but where you're running fewer routes that are, hey, find some space here because you basically have it, you can go vertical or you're in breaking, right? If you're aligned on the sideline, whereas you have basically a 3-way go if you're in the slot, you can go left, right, or upfield. He's playing more outside than I think he has the last 2 years. Who knows where this goes, if they like what they're seeing or the experiment, but it's also something Mike Vrabel gave voice to the other day and is among the things that I filed away because as much as we focus on the quickness and I call him a jitterbug, he's got the long speed too. The only thing missing from the physical skill set is the height, which you've got smaller receivers who can play outside and have one deep. I don't know if he will. But I do like that they're trying to unlock that part of his game or at least give it some run to see what they have. Because if he can play outside, and we know the receivers move around Josh McDaniels' offense and Diggs will be in the slot, but primarily the X, that's a huge help. And I think it's something that probably wasn't as tapped into as the Patriots could have the last couple of years.
I mean, that was the good thing about, Amendola would work out there. Julian got time out there. Even Wes, I felt like it was a little less with Wes, but even Wes was out there. And all those guys, well, no, I should say Wes and Edelman were definitely thicker than Pop. I think they probably each carried 10 to 15 pounds more weight and good weight than Pop does. But Danny was pretty slender and he still did some stuff out there and was capable. So even if it's, to your point, he doesn't have to live out there, but if he can go out there and he can do a thing or two, make a catch a game or whatever, it's just something you have to pay attention to. It's just something you can add to your arsenal where you don't look at it and say, he's in the slot. It's a passing down. We don't know. He can move. And if he can move, it'll give him a chance, I think, to stay on the field a little bit more too.
Yeah. All right, this part of the pod has gone on way longer than I expected. So I'm going to zip through the defensive notes. You pick out what is the most interesting, and then we will finally get to our superlatives from the offseason. You ready?
Yes, shoot.
Okay, defensive lineman. Milton Williams gave us a small peek at how the coaching staff is really going to weaponize him, I think, based on what we've seen this spring, and I think this is a smart thing to do. He was everywhere. This is not just, the 3 technique is where you want to put your best pass rushing defensive tackles. He was hanging off of the edge like you would see any outside linebacker in the league. Not quite wide 9, but close. Inside of him was Harold Landry for stretches, some Keon White. They're going to mix and match, and they got pressure that way, including Keon White, who had a sack both Monday and Tuesday in minicamp. Big thumbs up for him, even if he also jumped off sides in one particular play in 11 on 11s. Christian Barmore, he's in there. Again, just everything he's been through. I don't care about the production right now. I like that he's healthy. I like that he's available. I like that he's playing and running with the top defense. Big thumbs up. Behind him, though, Kairos Tonga and Jeremiah Farms. Those are your number 3 and number 4 defensive tackles as it is now. Someone emailed me this morning as about Joshua Farmer. I'm like, he's just not been there with the top group yet. Yeah. Gotten some rotation and reps, but rookies have a longer way to go than anybody else. And that's all I got for the defensive line. Robert Spillane, Christian Ellis, your top inside linebackers, have been Jelani Tavai, who was there wearing a sleeve on his left calf, which he hurt a couple of weeks ago in OTAs. Behind them, Jack Gibbons is running with Christian Ellis when they would go to their second team defense. Jack Gibbons also running with Javon Baker as far down the field as you can in the practice bubble on what looked like a rep of cover 2 as he's running the pole. And he was not step for step, but you would call it like a half length, the full length. I don't know my horse racing terms. He was right there, and the ball fell incomplete. The fact he was also on the top kick return team among the lineup and the blockers and just whatever you want to call it indicates to me his chances of making the roster should be safe. On the edge, Caleb on Chaisson signed a flyer, 1-year deal, for now known as a first-round bust in Jacksonville, and anyone within Duval would tell you, certainly a bust. Took some top reps across from Keon White. File that away. Cam Riley, undrafted rookie out of Florida State, 2 pass breakups, both that will haunt TreVeyon Williams. Again, TreVeyon Williams, who just could not shake him late in practice. Defensive backs, Christian Gonzalez, one-handed pick. You already talked about it. Best player in the field. He just throttled Pop on some other reps that Drake had just completely looked the other way. Like he just swallowed up the route right away. Carlton Davis saw 2 targets in 11s. One was a catch Pop made at his expense, and the other that May threw wide of Kayshon Boutte, so there was no chance there. Marcus Jones played outside and at nickelback. Again, the nice play against Kyle Williams as they tumbled to the ground. No feedback from coaches. Seemed to be totally fine. Good play from him. Alex Austin and Marcellus Dial were the top corners on the second defense. So the top unit's running with 3 corners. This is not permanent. This is just what we saw on Tuesday. And then the second was more of a 3 safety look. All of that, of course, will change day to day, game to game, week to week. Last thing, Kyle Duggar worked in very slowly this spring. And I think generally that's smart for a player who is smart, proven, capable. But they worked him in so slowly that he was with the defense not working opposite Drake Maye, working opposite Josh Dobbs instead. And I'm not making anything of that. It seems like he will be fine for training camp. And Peppers took some snaps back and forth, but has predominantly been with that top unit. There are a lot of safeties in there that are capable and experienced. Not as good as Kyle Duggar, but we'll see where the scheme fit is. And I'm leaving it right here in the present. June 11th. Those are my observations. And I'm excited to see how that shakes out because there are a lot of good players there. Most interesting part of that or things that I missed?
I leave it on the safeties. I think the Duggar thing is very interesting because I did wonder if I do think that Duggar and Peppers, there's some duplicity to their skill set. And if that's something that they want and want to roll out consistently, or if Mike wants to have one of those guys, and right now would definitely be Jabrill Peppers in sort of the Kevin Byard role in Tennessee where he thrived, where, hey, one play he's the free, and then the next play he's coming off the edge on a safety blitz, and we've seen some of that with Peppers thus far in camp. I think Peppers has been or was really good for what we saw this spring. Like it was he went through a lot last year. didn't know how the organization would treat him coming into this year. I think it's shown he's one of the leaders of that group. He's one of the loudest guys on that group. And I noticed him being in the right place a lot and making plays during the course of the spring. So to me, it's a good sign, because 2 years ago I thought he probably was their best defensive player. Well, he and Barmore, like he was right in that conversation.
Yeah.
So if he's back to being that kind of player, disruptive, he sort of gave him more than he had ever had in previous stops in Cleveland and with the Giants. And I thought he was a good player. So if he can be back to that kind of player again, that's a good sign for the defense.
He also leads the defense far and away in the whoo, I would have smoked you in a real game setting. Flying down from the second level, third level, often on checkdowns, running back turns around, and there's a number 5 jersey in a blur going right by them as if he might have snatched their soul, and that is mine now because of how hard and fast he was going to come down and hit.
And look, he's carved out himself a nice career as a first-round pick, but he was someone who should have played in the league 25 years ago. When you were allowed to just behead dudes, like he would have been in the, not that he was as big as Steve Atwater, but like Atwater, Lynch, Rodney Harrison, like that group of guys that just absolutely were heat-seeking missiles. He is that.
Yeah. All right, you ready to dive into a fake yearbook for the Patriots 2025 offseason? Hand out some superlatives.
Yes. Do we get the awkward yearbook photos?
Well, yours, surely. I do have a photo actually of you yesterday, which I have not yet shared with you. We might just put it at the end of the podcast if you're watching on the sideline. So we will see. In the meantime, you're going to have to wait, though, for a second, because I have to tell the folks about people who support us and have supported us for a long time in this podcast, the good folks at Prizepicks. And Prizepicks, if you were new to the show, is the best place to win real money watching sports. Mike and I both play Prizepicks. We especially like to play Prizepicks during the NBA season when the Celtics are not playing, because this is how simple it is with Prizepicks. Including today, Wednesday, if you're going to watch Game 3 of the NBA Finals, you get a free square. What does a square mean? Well, here it goes. You just need to build a lineup of 2 to 6 players. You go on Prizepicks. Each player comes with a stat. If it's basketball, it could be points, assists, rebounds, made number of shots, whatever it is. You can also do baseball, hockey. You pick a player, put him in your lineup, and go more or less. Boom. Find another player. Or the free square. More or less. There's your lineup. You lock it in. It's just you against the numbers. There are no competitors. It's just you, the best place to win real money in the best daily fantasy sports app anywhere. Here's the best part, though. If you are new to Prizepicks, and I wish I still was, if you sign up today, you will get $50 instantly when you play your first $5, just $5 lineup. You don't need to win to get the $50 bonus. It is guaranteed once you play that first $5 lineup. They also have weekly promotions when the basketball and hockey is over. Doesn't matter. They've got Taco Tuesday, which one of these days I'm going to find out what tacos are doing there on Tuesdays. But Fridays, they also have promotions. There's tons of stuff always for you at Prizepicks, no matter what level of fan you are, baseball, hockey, once we get back to football, basketball, you name it. So sign up today. Download the app, use code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Prizepicks, run your game. All right. MVP of the Patriots offseason, based on the 5 practices that we've seen as a media corps.
Mike Vrabel.
Oh, okay. Do tell.
Just, again, night and day, just how the operations run. I'm someone, son of a coach for 40 years, football coach. So I always like to watch the coach, right? That's sort of.
Are you a guru?
I am definitely not a guru. Okay. However, I do enjoy watching these guys work. And I can tell you last year, there were a lot of times where I wrote in my notebook, what the hell are they doing? Or something to that degree. And this year I find myself scribbling in my notebook, like, hey, Vrabel was here. And then like 20 seconds later, he's on the other end of the field talking to a DB, and then he's over here on the sideline talking to one of the coaches. Then he's over here talking to a special teamer. Like, just the involvement, the coaching, the instruction, doesn't matter who it is. You mentioned him running to Giles after the touchdown catch. Like, he's involved with all of it. And I think that's what you want from your head coach. Also, have enjoyed watching Josh get to work again. I've told Josh this before. Like, I do enjoy him teaching. His voice gets kind of funny sometimes, and it makes me laugh. when he'll say to the guys, like, it's not that hard, but his voice kind of like cracks. But he's so involved too. And it's the conversations with not just the quarterbacks, but with the other assistants, as we're talking about more collaboration this year. Jeremy Springer, the special teams coordinator, is an absolute maniac running up and down the field. Not a maniac in the Joe Judge dropping F-bombs to anybody and everybody, but just like his energy. Tony Dews, I thought, is really involved with that run, like, as he should be. He's the running backs coach, but like just watching him coach and watching them work on the little details. Mike Smith, who's coaching the edges, really. Keon White talked about him like, I finally have a coach this year, or it's nice to have a coach or be coached, something to that effect. So I just think that again, it's just from where they were last year, and even from the last couple of years of Bill, where the staff got smaller, and I don't know, it just wasn't. They weren't as dialed in as we were used to seeing. This group is dialed in, and as you mentioned at the beginning, like if they're going to maximize player development and some of the talent that's on this team, like this is a good staff for it. We're seeing that already.
You know what that was? That was you announcing the award and the winner being Mike Vrabel from the stage. And then you gave the speech as if you were Mike Vrabel, listing off all the assistants and thanking them for this fictitious award. You're a one-man award show.
I like, and I'm not trying to like. I'm not
News, thank you. Jesus,
I'm just not some sort of expert, but it's just.
How could I forget Josh McDaniels? Everyone, I couldn't do it without all of you. The pass interference MVP offseason award, Mike Vrabel. Thank you. It's not about me. We're on to the.
I'll shut up. You give your MVP.
Christian Gonzalez, which is not as impactful as the head coach or the dozen assistants that were just listed in the thank you speech.
Only 5.
And look, yours is the right answer. The better picture look. I'm always cautioning people about taking what players say and coaches say this time of year. They're not stupid enough to bash their boss in public, as hopefully none of us are. But what we're hearing is matching what we're seeing. And that is when you can trust how things are changing and what might come next. The reason I picked Christian Gonzalez, the man had 2 interceptions in that first practice we went to, which was not glossed over because we all ran with, oh my God, Drake had 4 interceptions. I said it was bad, and I also didn't care. He had one yesterday, a one-handed gliding down the sideline type of play that even some of the best corners in the league, whose ball skills don't match up to his, I don't think can make. It's just comforting, I think, whether you're a media member or a coach, maybe even a teammate, to go, a lot of moving parts, a lot of new faces. I know that guy in the number 0 jersey is going to be as rock solid and as good for us and consistent as maybe all but 5 other defenders in the league. Like, that has got to feel so good. And the fact that he showed it after a quiet spring and summer last year where we're like, I don't know, is this the same guy? Yes, it is. And the best of him is still yet to come. All right. Best offensive rookie.
TreVeyon Henderson. It's easier to look. Obviously, Will Campbell. As Mike has said, hard to evaluate offensive linemen when we're not run blocking and you're not in pads, etc. TreVeyon, wasn't perfect, a couple drops, but you see that explosiveness that some people, myself, like I like the pick. Some people didn't love the pick that high. He has me thinking that there might be more for him than even I initially thought in this offense in year one. So I just think that there's a lot there to like.
The burst, the speed, as advertised. Blitz pickup, flashes. Not really going to know. I don't think until we get halfway through the season, to be honest. Like that stuff in practice is going to be cool, but the defense is not specifically scheming how to exploit them or certain protections that the Patriots are running. They're just calling their calls. Okay, so Henderson though is a pick because we can't properly judge Will Campbell, who did start all of the 11-on-11 periods with the starters, which is great. Mm-hmm. And Henderson had a drop here or there, certain practices, whatever. That's fine. He was better than Kyle Williams. I'm not including Andres Borregales because the man plays special teams. Like, he would have been in the conversation, but this is an easy one. Biggest offensive surprise / lesson.
You and I talked about this a little bit yesterday. A little bit more 2-back. And I am a fan. I think you're a fan as well. Like, when you look at the receiver room, and you can say it's better, whatever you want to say about it. I think you're trying to get on money downs your best players on the field, your best playmakers on the field, And I can definitely, at this point, I would say two of your best skill guys are running backs. And so I'm good with having two of them on the field at this point. And I think we saw more of that. And I want to see more of it in the spring, summer.
This is related to mine, which I kept more general. Is just this is not the same Josh McDaniels offense that we last saw in 2021. And you hear all the time, and I've supported this and cited Josh as an example that we're going to play with our personnel, we're going to tailor it to our talent. And like everyone says that, but we all know the coaches who are more faithful to their offensive playbooks than the talent on the roster and maybe their wives. I don't know. But the point is, guys love their system, their scheme, they identify with it. And when you look at this offense, not only is it just new, tailoring to the talent, there are elements that Josh himself has said, I'm not real familiar with this stuff. Like I could tell you what it's called, I can tell you how it works, but I'm not installed it. I'm not taught it. Like this is going to be a new offense, and the bones will be the same, but the parts that you just described and some other stuff, I'm excited to see. Doesn't mean it's going to work. Doesn't mean it's all sexy. Doesn't mean all the stuff about used to be the same storyline 10 to 15 years ago. Oh, so and so went to all these colleges, and Burt Breer's been saying this a lot about Josh McDaniels. I don't really care about going to college. Like this, the merging of the pro and college schemes happened a long time ago. Okay, Kevin Clark wrote a great piece on this, however long ago. But this is new, and I think that's cool. Biggest offensive question.
O-line, wide receiver. It's the same as it's ever been. Like,
okay, but what pick one, and then specifically, is it the top talent's not good enough? Is it the depth? Is it health? Is it what?
Yes.
Yeah, sweet.
No, so look, they tried to address O-line, but let's not forget, for all the talk about Will Campbell and all the push of Will Campbell, and he's been the day one starter, allowed to say that, at left tackle since he walked in the door. He was not their first choice. He wasn't their second choice, and he wasn't their third choice. They wanted Ronnie Stanley. They pivoted to Jalen Moore and Dan Moore. They actually even offered a contract to Cam Robinson, who's only been a left tackle in his career, and that wasn't for no money. It was for real money. So they struck out. Will Campbell could turn out to be awesome. I think if we talk to Will Campbell, every time we haven't talked to him a ton, but when you talk to him, you like Will Campbell. You like everything he stands for. And I love him working with Morgan Moses after practice, little confabs that they have with Morgan Moses after every practice that we've seen. Like, I love it. I still have questions about whether or not he can hold up at left tackle with the measurables. You mentioned left guard. It's a massive question. Layden Robinson, who was a starter, is not even in the conversation. You'll figure it out. Well, we said that last year, and they couldn't figure it out. Bradbury's coming off a historically awful pass protection season. Like, talk to people in Minnesota, and they'll tell you it was not a hard decision to part with Garrett Bradbury. I've mentioned Morgan Moses. Like, he's still been a pretty good football player. He's 34. His body started to show signs of breaking down each of the last 2 years. And then Big Mike is big. So it's like, never mind you have questions about the starters. Well, then what's behind them? Like, I don't know that we know what's behind them. We didn't see Caden Wallace very much last year. To your point, is it City So? Is it Layden? We didn't see Wilson, the rookie, at all. They're been off to the side. Vidarian Lowe would be probably this. Well, maybe he'd be the swing tackle. I don't know. We haven't seen him really either. So they tried, they struck out a lot. This is what they've got. It's definitely a better plan than they had last year. We'll see if the plan holds up. And wide receiver to me is top end. It's if Diggs comes back and can be 90% of Diggs, then that's pretty good. That puts you in a much better place than you've been in terms of your number one receiver. But how the other pieces fit, I don't know. It's having more bodies and more competition is good, but just because there's competition doesn't mean it's a great competition. You know what I mean? I think we've been this road before with the receiver room in particular, where they bring in the Eric Deckers of the world. And you're like, ooh, it's going to be a hard decision.
The glory days. Derek Decker was your biggest problem in the receiver room in camp. You hit it on the head though with the depth part. That is my specific question. And I'll say two things. Number one, the bar cannot be better than the 2024 Patriots because specific to the offensive line, that was the worst run blocking line in the entire league. It was at best a bottom 5 pass protecting line in the entire league. If the bar is better than that, I think they've already cleared it. They will clear it if they clock out from 9 to 5 and treat this like a regular day job, which of course we all know is not the case with a bunch of competition addicts who love and live for football. Number 2 is the depth is the issue, because at some point over an 18-week, 17-game season, Morgan Moses is going to miss a game, or Will Campbell's going to miss a game. Garrett Bradbury probably. Cole Strange, I would suspect, is going to miss a game. What happens next? Because Vidarian Lowe, you can get by with for a game or two. Fine. Caden Wallace, I think ideally, in talking to some people, would be their swing tackle. That's how they see that guy. But right now, he's a left guard because they don't really have anybody else at left guard. And I trust that Doug Marrone, lifelong coach, offensive line coach, who's done this long enough, understands that the more you mix and match and you experiment, you pull this guy here, it's not even jack of all trades, master of none. It's just a waste of time and diminishing returns on trying this out. And they're not there yet. Camp is going to reach that point in the first week or two. But I don't know what they have behind them when inevitably some of these starters get hurt. So that's my biggest question. Keep your eye on. I already did mine, the number 3 tight end position. Like, who the hell is that going to be? And I think is as likely for an outside addition as any position on this roster. What are you keeping your eye on offensive addition?
Jalen Polk, obviously coming back from the surgery, has been a limited participant, not fully cleared to do things, wearing the yellow penny, working mostly off to the side with Diggs, who obviously is not fully cleared either. I still think, some people don't, I still think he's on the roster.
I agree.
Because he's a second round pick, and I just don't think between the coaching last year and his confidence, and I don't know when the injury happened, maybe that impacted him as well. We haven't talked to him. I want to give it another chance because I think he was not awesome in the summer last year, but you're like, he can play. Like, I don't know if he's ever going to be a 60 catch guy, but he looks like he's a decent football player. And the things that he was talked about coming out of school, his toughness, his blocking, his reliability, all those things went to hell last year. So I'd like to take another shot. Again, I'm not predicting this high ceiling on the player, but it feels to me like he should get another shot. I'm just curious how they view it. Elliott's here, so obviously he drafted him, so there is that tie there, but this coaching staff has no ties. And Todd Downing didn't give an awesome answer about Jalen Polk when we talked to him, and it wasn't dismissive, but it was just sort of like, I don't know, so hopefully he's cleared and ready to go, and he can ramp it up in training camp, and we'll see if he can earn himself a spot. But I am curious about that because I think he should be on the roster probably, but they haven't seen him. They have no loyalty to him.
Well, and it's not only just that he was a second round pick, he was universally regarded as a day 2 prospect. Yes. So I don't care as much about the contract for a team that has a ton of cap space, and as you mentioned, has turned over the regime. I think you just look at the player. Even if you have to go back to college, which is obviously not a great look for now a second-year player in the NFL, you go, there's enough here. And what we learned in reporting, both of us late in the season and then afterwards in this kind of, post-mortem, was he got in his own way and really in his own head. And on a personal level, like, first of all, that resonates 1,000,000%. But if you're able to talk to him, to coach him, to let him get healthy and be like, hey, look, you're in control of what's happening here more than most players are. We trusted that player's in here. We just have to see him. I would pick Jalen Polk to make the roster more than Efton Chism. And again, I know everyone thinks they figured it out, who Jalen Polk is and will be in the career and everything like that. Yeah. But you're right. It was at worst, decent camp for a second-round rookie receiver receiving terrible position coaching last year, and an offense that could not find itself or pass protect or sometimes put the ball on the money. And then it fell apart. And that's too bad because they put too much on his plate. Not according to us, according to the GM in charge. All right, wild card thought. Take this wherever you go, and then we're going to do the same questions on defense.
Yeah, this just goes back to Henderson, where I've sort of hit. I'm starting to wonder. I initially thought, like, hey, he's going to be a committee. They're not going to turn the ball over to him 25, 30 times again. That's just not how they roll. That's not how pretty much any team rolls in the NFL. But I kind of just thought he's going to carve himself out a role as the third down back. And then maybe as the year goes on, they might give him more opportunities on first and second downs. I'm starting to wonder if he's already, as you mentioned, Gibson 3, Henderson 2, if he doesn't push Ramondre for more of that playing time as the quote-unquote number 1 back. And the more I think about the pick and taking a running back as high as they did, he probably should be in that conversation and given that opportunity. If he earned the opportunity, and it's like, if he holds up, he holds up. But you drafted him that high, you got to let him play.
I agree. My wild card thought is something that I do not write about very often because I just think it's difficult to accurately capture and certainly project for a 22 or soon to be 23-year-old, soon to be married man. Congrats to Drake Maye.
Yes.
His leadership is going to be paramount this season. And Mike Vrabel has spoken to the, I don't want to say delicate because it makes it sound soft, but unusual nature of asking a kid that young to step up into what is clearly a huge leadership void with this team. And you can put in Sharpie, okay, right now, June 11th, when the Patriots announce their captains for next season. Morgan Moses is going to be in there. Hunter Henry will be a member. Stefon Diggs might be, okay? But Drake Maye is going to be in there. And I think when things go south, they're going to need to hear from him. And I have confidence that he will eventually develop into a real leader. I think the traits are there, the aura, as the kids say. But aside from those guys and Diggs, who knows how things go when they go south here? If he's not getting the ball in particular, he's got to hold his ground and be able to steer the ship or at least relay what Mike Vrabel's doing. Because Mike's not going to put too much on his plate, but you're a second-year quarterback, no matter how old you are, and you're tasked with leading a team that's hoping to have a winning season, maybe make the playoffs. I don't know what that looks like. And it's not because I don't believe in the kid. It's just clearly unknown territory. And when you look, like, if David Andrews is here, I'll put it this way. If David Andrews is still here, and this is not to wag a finger at them releasing him. The guy can't play catch with his kid in the backyard right now. I would have much less concerns than I do right now. But it's a lot of new leadership there, and I don't know what it looks like.
I've just, I don't even know this. I don't even know how to contextualize this in terms of like, what does it mean? I don't know what it means. Tom Brady, you always heard Tom Brady's voice on the practice field, especially when it was just us and the OTAs and the spirit, you know, yelling at guys, encouraging, talking trash, whatever. Mac Jones, very vocal. You heard Mac. You heard that squeaky voice of his, like with the Southern twang. You'd hear that. And again, Brady, greatest quarterback of all time. Mac Jones on his third team, whatever. I never hear Drake. Just never. I don't know if that's just not his style. I don't know if he just doesn't project. I don't know if we just catch him on the 5 days that we saw him this spring. He wasn't, but on the other days he was. Like, I never hear him. And I don't know what that means, if it means anything at all. I just find it noteworthy that, like, I was thinking about this when the conversation came up again for like the 6th time this offseason about his leadership. And I was like, I don't think I've ever heard him emote in one way or the other. I just don't think, like, you've seen some visible frustration, as you mentioned, in the red zone on Tuesday. Like, okay, but like, I haven't heard the F-bomb. I haven't heard like awesome play. Like, he just even keel, steady, and I don't know what that means.
Yeah, and Vrabel's spoken of this. Sometimes you need to be a different guy after a crap play and not worry about. I mean, the question was pointed of like, does he need to worry about being liked by everyone? And Mike cut that off immediately. It was like, this is the NFL. It's just not going to happen. And guys were certainly frustrated or pissed at Brady when he was, you know, ranting and raving and mad at them for screwing up. Yep. And that was his prerogative. You're the captain. You're the quarterback. You're the leader. Drake is being tasked now with, and Mike Reese has written about this, and you've seen some pictures, at the end of certain practices as they run sprints, using that cadence and making sure that guys go when they're supposed to. It sounds like taking a snap and they need to go on 4 and to be louder. Don't think that's an accident. And again, you put it very well. We don't know if it means anything. We caught him on a bad day. He's only 22. He's going to learn. He's going to grow. We both believe in the kid. The leadership part, though, is a big challenge for anybody in their second season, let alone against someone who's going to turn 23 in, I think, August. All right, defense. Best defensive rookie. I have Craig Woodson, and I think if you disagree with me, I might kick you off the podcast right now.
No, I've liked everything I've seen from Craig Woodson, and that was of the, aside from the specialist picks, which whatever.
Yeah,
that was the one pick I think that you're, you know, looks the part, and he like. I said it, and again, I don't know how challenging it is at this point. It'll get more challenging, obviously, when camp starts and then when they get the joint practices and things of that nature. But he feels like he's always where he's supposed to be. I haven't seen him have to scramble and like, oh crap, like, no one guy looking at him like, what did you do? Nope, I haven't seen it. I'm not saying it hasn't happened, but when I've watched, he's been where he seems like he's supposed to be, and he's made some plays, and I like what I've seen so far.
2 pass breakups yesterday. He's had pass breakups and other practices that we've attended to. That's not everything, but to your point, like not just running with the starters, with the second team defense and in different alignments. He's been trusted to play single high. He's been split safety stuff. He's played at the second level. Yeah, I think he's earning a lot of trust. Biggest defensive surprise / lesson.
You talked about it a little bit, and I guess I don't even call it a surprise, but the way they're going to weaponize the three pieces on the defensive line, Barmore, Williams, and Keon White. You talked about Williams being kicked outside, White moving inside. There was a rep yesterday where Barmore's head up on the tackle and just like swallowed him up whole. Like, I just think Mike said it's got to be one of our strengths. I think if they stay healthy, it should absolutely be one of their strengths. And if they didn't, something went horribly wrong, like whatever. I just think that, and I said this on the radio last week with Andy Hart, I think their best path to being this 9-10 win team that people are talking about, 11, 12, whatever, is that defense could be really, really good again. And I think it starts with those three guys in particular. And I'm really curious to see how and what they get out of them. And I just think they gave us a little sample, and I'm curious to see more.
Same. Caleb on Chaisson, I think would probably be a surprise ingredient in there. Again, 1 year, $5 million contract. Ran with the starters a little bit yesterday. He had a sack in the last OTA practice, and I think he's getting good coaching now, like the rest of them, from Mike Smith, who, if you read up on him, has been a part of some really good defenses, like those Rex Ryan Jets defenses. He was on staff there, and there are other interesting things about Mike. But the point is, there's so much more talent there on the edge. Like Anthony Jennings is running with the third string guys, and I think he's a dependable player who pretty much belongs on first and second down, and that's it. But as you see teams pass more on first and second down, maybe doesn't belong as much there. When you get the depth there and a guy like Chaisson, who finished the season strong last year, 5 sacks, career high in Vegas, whatever, you match that total. That's a big help from what should be a rotational rusher. And right now is a guy that on certain days is not playing a rotational role. And what that means, I don't know. It's just a spring, but he was my big surprise. My question is,
he doesn't turn 26 until the start of training camp. So like, he's been in the league since 2020, but maybe he's just one of those guys. He's a little bit of a late bloomer, finally gets the right coaching, right environment with some dogs next to him. And all of a sudden it's like, yeah, you know what? That turned out to be a flyer well worth it.
Yes. My biggest defensive question here is the defensive line depth. I already mentioned it. Kyrus Tonga and Jeremiah Farms. If you're going to rely on your defensive line to rotate and replenish its pass rush and power your defense, which again, I think the secondary is good enough to certainly hold its own. It's not like you're compensating for bad coverage and have to get to the quarterback in 2.5 seconds. Ideally, Joshua Farmer, your 4th round pick at Florida State, replaces one of those two guys. But for now, that's a position, like, at least I know linebacker is going to be solid off the ball. That'll be fine. You can go edge here, but to me, just if Milton Williams or Christian Barmore does go down, that changes the complexion of this position group because of the lack of depth more than any other player getting hurt on this defense.
I have the exact same thing.
Okay.
To me, that was a spot that, again, it wasn't as if they didn't address it in free agency in the draft. I still think I would have liked another proven body in there in the mix. And again, that could be something that they get to the end of August and realize, you know what, we got to do something there. And maybe you claim somebody off waivers, or you make one of those classic late August trades. We give you one of our guys that's probably not making the roster for one of your guys that's probably not making the roster, but it's at that position.
Yeah. Keep your eye on ... defense edition.
Shout out, because I think you've got something coming up on this. Harold Landry, his speed has played in this portion of the offseason where you're in shorts and he looks extremely fast. He's certainly very happy to be here. I want to see what it looks like in pads because last year, and we've talked about this, and I know you talked to him, and I don't want to steal the thunder here, but like his pass rush win rate was way down. I talked to people in Tennessee. I got some guys there, having covered them when Mike was there, and thought he was on the wrong side, so it hasn't been the same player in their mind since he suffered the knee injury in 2022, I believe. So if he can be something close to what he was pre-injury, they certainly invested some capital in him. They certainly feel like he's still got that in him. If he can be that, then that helps answer one of my questions about overall, the edge. Like it's another spot where I'm kind of, is Keon what Keon is, or is Keon going to take that next step? As I talk about the defensive line, if you get Chaisson and then all of a sudden Landry's, then all of a sudden you've got a real good group there that is probably better than I gave them credit for going into the spring.
I like it. That story will be out next week for those interested. Now tipped off. My original answer was going to be Mike Smith, who we've already talked about a little bit, and I think it's just, if all these players that they're going to unlock, whether it's Keon, who we've been talking about for 2 years in the potential, Kalo and Chaisson, right? He's going to be the reason why. But thinking now, I'm going to change my pick to Marcus Jones because I don't love the depth behind him in nickel. And this is a position that Vrabel commented on at the Combine, one of his first press conferences, about how coaching has changed basically since he's been in, put a headset on in football. And that's what came to mind for him, how dynamic and important that position could be. And you see plenty of nickel blitzes in this defense. You see Marcus Jones playing on the outside. Right now, based on their rotations, Marcellus Dial, 6th-round pick at South Carolina a year ago, as fit and strapped a dude as you will find in that locker room, but really just played special teams, is their backup. I don't know that I love that. But if Marcus Jones can be as dynamic at a position that Vrabel clearly sees as being imperative to modern defense, they could really start humming. Can he stay healthy? I don't know. Do they need more help there? I don't know. But I would guarantee you they're thinking about it.
Yeah, I think you and I shared a brain on this one. I think we thought they were going to do something there at that position in the offseason. Did not. He showed me something last year because I still wondered if he was anything more than like a gadgety special teams type guy. I thought he did a real nice job when he was healthy playing the spot. My dog is weighing in here on Marcus Jones. But yeah, it feels like they're a little lean there, a little thin, and I don't know where you go if he's not on the field.
Wild card thought. Again, another guy we talked about, Kyle Duggar. Just I think there's more there. I still think he's going to surprise some people who have forgotten how good he was in 22 and stretches of 23. But having already talked about him, Terrell Williams, who we've not mentioned, who it sounds like should be back for training camp. And that to me is someone who's a first-time coordinator, and clearly they're running whatever he wants to do in practice because they're talking via video conference. But what he does now schematically is really going to intrigue me, even if we won't see a ton of that in camp. But as a game planner, I mean, that's an advantage they're going to have to create if they want to win more games than people expect.
Yeah, that was my answer as well. It's really important, like that. You can say, well, I'm less concerned because Vrabel's, was a defensive coordinator. That's where his bread and butter is. No, he chose Terrell. A lot of people thought Terrell, this is overdue for him. I want it for him. Like, just, like everybody talks about him, good dude. Like, you want him to get his opportunity, but like, it's hard to not be here and sort of build that relationship and have guys understand what you're expecting. I know we lived the Zoom world a few years ago, but it's not the same. So
I don't want to go back.
No, if he can be back here for training camp and hit the ground running, that would be awesome for him. And I think certainly a benefit for the defense.
Okay, so we have gone well over an hour. You have a dog barking because he misses you. I have an ambulance going by my apartment because I think people have been sick of listening to me the floor below or a floor above of my apartment. So it is time to go. We will skip the conversation about how we would change just general media, spring, summer practice coverage, and not because you've taken some fair critiques of our brethren, as you call it. But I think to me, it's interesting because I always take this time to look back at last year, what I did, what could be different, what do I want to do? And what I landed on was just context for a lot of the training camp stats that are not great. Let's be honest, but we keep them anyway because that's what we have. And what that looks going forward, I don't know. What I do need from you though, before you go, is for you to turn your phone over and open up Twitter for a second.
Okay.
And just tell the folks what you see from your mention from one @_ Andrew Callahan.
Ask him anything.
How many questions do you have from your AHI?
Nothing much.
Oh,
yeah, only a couple there.
Damn.
This is the great one though. Our good friend Claire. How does he manage to remain so dashing?
Oh, okay. This completely backfired. This I said right as we started. I did this at an airport when Doug and I were late.
I saw that. He was so happy with you.
He was not happy immediately. Immediately replied, "Please do not do this." As we were sitting at one of those Chili's in the Palm Beach airport. But he got like 15 responses, and they just kept coming despite his denial. So I'm disappointed that I gave the good folks of social media an hour and 15 minutes, and they did not respond. But I'll keep it up, and hopefully we get some more.
Thanks. I really appreciate that.
You got it. Well, I appreciate your time. We will do the media stuff later, which again is not Patriot specific. It's a question I'm asking myself about what am I going to do over the most important 5 weeks of the whole offseason to improve myself, get ready for training camp.
Don't screw up. If you're out there doing things you shouldn't be doing, make sure that no one has a camera pointed directly at you and that you smile at it. That's all I'm saying.
Okay. All right. Thanks, Dad.
You're welcome.